Next we have Philip Hodgetts of Intelligent Assistance. He's going to tell us about his product, Lumberjack. He doesn't really need an introduction. Everybody in post-production circles knows Philip and has heard him speak. But he's going to tell us about the latest from Lumberjack. So
I am, yes. I'm going to show you a preview that we've been showing just since IBC of a new part of Lumberjack system. I should back up and say that Lumberjack is, of course, a logging and pre-editing tool. A Lumberjack is a logger, so we get that clear. And once you've got a really good pun going, you've got to stick with it. So the place where logs are processed is a lumber yard, and the place where you do something with those logs once they're processed is in a builder, as a builder. So I'm going to show you the builder component. As I said, Lumberjack is a suite of tools from real-time logging, which is where we started, to story building, where we can take the selects that we create in real time and do string outs of topics and keywords. And then in 2015, we introduced transcript mode. We were the first people to bring transcripts into Final Cut Pro 10, and that proved to be invaluable on the O.J. Simpson documentaries. Then a year later, we introduced magic keywords, because magic keywords that are generated by deriving them from a transcript are somewhat magic. And that's where we are now. What we're seeing is one of the very first outcomes of the machine learning artificial intelligence trend that is going to affect all of our lives, both work and personal, over the next couple of years, is in speech to text. It's one of the cognitive services. In other words, I don't have to program a machine to learn how to do speech to text, because a lot of providers have already done that. There are applications out in the field like SpeedScriber, Scribomatic, and Transcriptize that will get you a transcript into Final Cut Pro 10, Premiere, or ready for script sync in Media Composer. We came to the conclusion, being the very first to start working with transcripts in our editing applications, that speech to text is not an application, it's a feature in an application. And that's where we came to Lumberjack Builder. Lumberjack Builder will have a full speech to text engine in it at an industry leading rate of about 35 cents per minute. In 23 languages, we're using the Speechmatics engine. I'm not trying to keep it a secret like other people using exactly the same engine, SpeechScriber, which is a great application. If you want a really good, perfect transcript, SpeechScriber is actually a very good application for that. But I think we've gone a little bit further by building a new non-linear video editing application that is text-driven. So it is a video editing application. So I can just simply hit playback, and we're playing back, and if I plug the audio in, we'd be hearing audio there. It's only me speaking about my history, so you probably don't really care. But it fully supports JKL playback. And this is, by the way, this is a 4K multicam clip out of Final Cut Pro 10. We sync everything up in Final Cut Pro 10. We process our media there. Then we send an XML to Builder and send back organized stuff to Final Cut Pro 10. Because Lumberjack is all about being organized, ready to do the creative work that you do as an editor. So obviously I can correct, I can create new paragraphs. If you're familiar with the concept of a keyword range in Final Cut Pro 10, each one of these paragraphs is a keyword range, so we can add keywords to that range. We can put the text into the notes field for the keyword when we come back to Final Cut Pro 10, and we can create a new keyword range, say there, simply by hitting a return key. So we can break the paragraph, break the keyword range, create a new keyword range, and every keyword range that we create is a select when we come to editing. And I'm sure that you all know that not every select is a great one, so we can simply reject these, take them out of the selects list by hitting the delete key or rating it. I'm so used to using a trackpad, and the trackpad on this keyboard turns out not to be coffee compatible. We can add keywords to any range, so that's my favorite memory. So if I start typing in here, and of course it's an Australian transcription, so it's Australian spellings. Favorite memory is just down there. We've already used it somewhere in this project, so we're going to use it here. I can also apply keywords to multiple paragraphs. I can correct my paragraphs. I can correct typing and error, as you would expect. But I can come into here and I can add a name, and I could add a new keyword, but I'm also going to add a paper color. Classically, when you're working with transcripts, you would print different people's interviews onto different colored pieces of paper, and that's what I'm doing here, simulating that. That becomes much clearer when you get to start building stories. We have a lot of keywords that are automatically generated, and we need to be able to manage those keywords. And so we built a keyword manager, something that Final Cut Pro 10 desperately could use. Sorry, I showed them how this works, so they should be onto it straight away. You know, it takes about 2.5 years from a company deciding that they want to put a feature into an application and we actually seeing it in a released version. It's 2 to 3 years typically for most companies. So when you put in these feature requests, give the engineers a little time to get through the process so they can do that for you. We're a real small company of 2 people. If we want to do something, we can do it and have it out tomorrow if it's quick enough. And we do often have updates out the same day that somebody reports a problem. I can come through here and, for example, all of these magic keywords are variable. So we've got one here that's got a lot of confidence, and we're just going to use that to rename the keyword ranges without changing the ranges, but just use the new keyword and drag that on top of the range and bring them all under the one keyword. And you can see that the amount of keywords associated with that keeps increasing. We can correct spellings, you know, and we can bring in the part of the real-time logging. As I said, Lumberjack is a system. It's all tied together through a cloud. And this project has real-time keywords for real-time logging, keywords set up for real-time logging. And I can bring those into my builder interface because generally somebody has thought about the keywords before they've entered them. So they're probably going to be more precise than your automatically generated keywords. It turns out that that wasn't my Spanish cousin, but it was just me in disguise. And I can just rename these to make them congruent with what else we've done in the other part of Lumberjack. Because I've now taken the time to prepare all of these and correct the typing, reject my deleted projects, and if at this rejected ranges, if at this point I sent it back to Final Cut Pro 10, I would have an event with all these keywords in them, with the transcript into each paragraph, into each keyword, into the notes field, and we'd basically be where we'd have a more sophisticated version of where we are with transcript range mode right now. However, we have a story building mode, and this is where the magic comes in, because this is, as I said, a video editing application, but we're editing it via text. So if I were to look for by the river, so I'm just searching for 2 keywords, you notice that the words we searched for are highlighted in our selects list, whether they're a keyword or whether they're from the transcript itself. We can do the typical OR search that most NLEs do, and certainly that Final Cut Pro does by default, which is where we get a hit if it's got camping or river in it. If we change to an AND search, we have to have both river and camping in the one clip before it will show up. And if we were searching with favorites, we could further restrict our selects list to the favorites that we've already targeted. So you've got a very powerful searching tools there. I'm just going to go back to camping, and I don't really care. Should try a conventional spelling. How about that? Now I can drag across. I can hit the E key, which is the same as Add to Timeline in Final Cut Pro 10, or I could hit the Add button that's on the screen there. I've just put my first clip into my timeline. I mean, I could preview my selects before adding them to the timeline, and again, there is audio if I plug the audio cable in. But a 53 seconds opening shot of an interview sequence is probably a little long. You know, my editing instincts are saying that that's a little too long for us to be watching this interview. So, cold is pretty much where that first thought finishes. So now I've done a video edit. I've actually trimmed this off the end of that first clip, and I'm going to do a further trim to Vanuatu, because I'm pretty sure that Vanuatu was more of a 3-star resort than a camping holiday. I don't want that clip anymore. I'm going to send that back to my selects list simply by either hitting the remove key or hitting delete, which will send it back into my selects list for use elsewhere. So your clip is only either in your selects list or in the current story. Let me just find a couple more of these clips, and I have a long-winded story there that's some relevance to camping. I'm just going to trim out some of these. We've been watching these in thumbnail, in keyword, but I can switch on thumbnails, and I'm just going to quickly along the way. That's it. So I don't need that piece. I don't need that piece. And my clips are in the wrong order, so I'm just going to use my magnetic storyline to change the clips around. And I can just preview the story at any time, and that will play through the clip. And it'll play my edits. Or I could select multiple clips and play through those clips as a preview of just that section of the story. We don't always want to start from the very beginning of an edit and watch the whole thing through to see how a particular sequence is going. As I said, these are 4K multicams. Some of them 4K, some of them are HD. We work with multicams, we work with synchronized clips, we work with regular clips. I have one more trick, and hopefully this isn't going to be too loud. Let me just, okay, and all I'm going to do is play that.
As long I'm WRM and entry, I am a happy camper. As
Yes.
long I'm...
Well, if I typed that correctly, it would have gone correctly. That's made with the system voice. It's a real media file in the system voice and language that you have set up on your computer. So if you type Danish in there, you'll get a Danish voice. If you type Finnish in there and you're set up for Finnish, you'll get Finnish in there, or any other language that Apple supports. And as I said, we'll support about 23 languages when we have this ready for public use towards the end of the year. Everyone's around the end of the year at the moment. Thank you very much. You can check out more at lumberjacksystem.com.